Thank you for joining us. We presented this presentation live on December 14th, and this is a recording. We will be covering PACE, the provider access to a community equivalent, also known as the community-based training. My name is Diana Stokes, and I am the Staff Qualifications Coordinator on the Professional Development Team at DCYF. When we presented this live, Marlene White, our Communications Engagement Specialist, was also with me. Today, we'll be covering a couple different things. We'll provide an overview of PACE equivalent pathway, how to get started, as well as the future of this pathway. Next month in January, we'll be discussing community engagement updates from our professional development team. So what is PACE? PACE stands for Provider Access to a Community Equivalent, and it is the community-based training equivalent that is available to meet your education requirement. This education equivalent is available for assistant teachers, lead teachers, and family home licensees. This is not available for other roles or school age only programs at this time. This is a direct result from the equivalency work group that met from April 2019 to January 2020. House Bill 2556 passed in April 2020 and tasked DCYF with creating a community-based training equivalent. I also want to notate that while this meets the licensing education requirement, this is not available to meet ECAP performance standards and does not qualify for early achievers professional development points. PACE is available at no cost to participants, and it will be available in English and Spanish right away, and we will be adapting into Somali later. PACE consists of childcare basics, enhancing the quality of early learning, or EQUAL for short, and the two parts of PACE to meet the initial certificate equivalent, which you see here. I do want to call out two pieces of information. To participate in PACE, someone must have completed the 30-hour childcare basics. If you completed a different version, you will need to complete the updated training, as we use that to ensure that the learning outcomes are being met. If you met childcare basics through education, you will have different equivalent options available to you. Also, if someone was hired before August 1st, 2019, and did not have to complete EQUAL for their role, they will need to complete EQUAL in order to participate in PACE. And then the two PACE parts to meet the initial certificate includes the field of early care and education, or the field of ECE, and supporting child development and wellness. Part one of the field of ECE includes reflective teaching, ECE then and now, and the early learning profession. Part two, supporting child development and wellness, includes child development, children and families, and child wellness. We'll go in a little deeper later on. Part of PACE is on-the-job learning. And throughout PACE, you'll participate in these job-embedded learning, which includes on-the-job work hours, and put it into practice. Put it in practice has two components: try it out and put it all together. The job embedded work happens during the two PACE parts, and then at the end, everything is put together. This emphasizes the reflection that happens during application of the learning. This expands on the early learning cycle that is happening throughout. This happens by attending the training session. Immediately after the training session, participants apply their learning to their program and implement the activity. From there, participants reflect on the activity, such as what worked well, what didn't work well, what changes would I make? Then participants document their reflection through one of the many options. This may include video reflection, journaling, and other documentation practices. And then with their trainer, participants share their reflection. This is to show the trainer that they have met the milestones for this lesson. And each participant will be able to work with their trainer and be able to adapt the job embedded learning activity for their classroom age group, as well as their program type. So with all that said, how do I get started with completing PACE to meet my licensing education requirement? Right now, you have some things that you can do to get started. First, you want to make sure that this option is available for your role. Remember, this is available only for assistant teachers, lead teachers, and family at home licensees and early learning programs. And just again, to call out, this pathway is not eligible for ECAP staff, nor does it qualify for early achievers professional development points. Second, you're going to want to log into Merit so that you can indicate this is the pathway that you want to use to meet your licensing education requirement. Next, you'll need to make sure you've completed childcare basics. Remember, it's got to be the 30 hours, and Equal. We have expanded our offerings of Equal to include year 2. Year 1 is now available as well on our DCYF online training site. Then starting in February 2022, you will be able to find PACE Part 1 and Merit. PACE Part 2 will be available starting in July 2022. DCYF is working on scaling out this model and building the capacity for expansion throughout 2022 and beyond. Updates will be provided through our professional development newsletter and on our website on how you can use this pathway to meet your education requirement as well as the registration process. So what's included in PACE? PACE for the initial certificate equivalent includes 2 parts. These parts include 3 modules, as well as 2 to 3 individual training sessions. Completing part 1 will give you the individual 20 in-service hours, which will be able to meet one's annual in-service requirement as well. So that means you don't have to complete additional training outside of PACE to meet your in-service requirement for the year. Part 1 of PACE, the field of ECE, includes reflective teaching, which is 7 hours of training, ECE Then and Now, which will be 9 hours of training, and the early learning profession, which will be 4 hours of training. During these modules, you will learn more about what it is reflective teaching and how to use it, the history of ECE, the different ECE program types, and what role that policy and advocacy has played in ECE. You'll also learn more about values and ethics, as well as the stages of educator development and the activities that support ongoing development. During part 1 of PACE, you will be introduced to the job embedded learning activities that you will build on throughout your participation in PACE. Part 2 of PACE is coming in July 2022. Part 2 consists of 3 modules: child development, children and families, and child wellness. Each module has 2 sessions. Child development and children and families will be 15 hours of training, and child wellness will be 5 hours of training. During part 2 of PACE, you will learn more about child development, supporting child behaviors, child outcomes through assessment, how to engage families, and promoting the health, safety, and wellness of the child. During part 2 of PACE, you will continue your job embedded learning activities. There will be more job embedded learning activities in part 2 as there are more opportunities for hands-on learning here. And as well as completing part 2 will give the individual an additional 20-hour in-service hours, which will be able to meet one's annual in-service requirement. The 2 PACE parts, the field of ECE, as well as the child development, this part 2 here that's on your screen, will give an individual a total of 40 hours of in-service training when they complete the initial certificate equivalent. So what's the timeline for availability? As previously stated, childcare basics and Equal are now available, including year 2 of Equal. In 2022, you can complete the equivalent of the initial certificate, which consists of PACE Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 is available starting in February, and Part 2 is coming in July 2022. PACE can be completed for those that need the short certificate for their role. PACE Part 3 and Part 4, which is equivalent to the short certificate, are coming in 2023. More information will be shared on these two parts in the future. But in the meantime, these two parts will cover content that is similar to the Washington State ACE short certificate with a general specialization. Content will cover child development and guiding behavior. PACE will be delivered by state-approved trainers that are with our contracted training partners. Using the Find Training tool in Merit, you will need to look for each module when you are ready to complete the PACE trainings. Trainings will be found by the module and not by the individual sessions, as these trainings are meant to be completed in blocks. The training organizations offering this training will let you know when each training session will be held. For example, when I do a search and I find reflective teaching, it may have an offering date of the whole month of March for the date range. But when I reach out and register with the training organization, they may tell me that this training with the 3 sessions, one is available on March 1st, the second one may be available on March 15th, and then the other one may be available March 20th. The availability is going to be flexible, as well as understanding that you all are going to be working during the day. So the training organizations will follow the normal practices of offering this on nights, weekends. There may be some day classes, but it'll be up to the trainer and the training organization on when they're offering them. DCYF is working with the training organizations that will be delivering PACE to include additional supports. This additional technical assistance is identified by individual needs and varies by the level of support needed. As you participate in PACE, you may feel like you need the additional support. You're going to want to work with your trainer to identify which of the following level or levels would provide you the additional support that you need to be successful. On my own is when PACE participants do not require additional assistance outside of the standard training sessions. You won't have to do anything extra for that. Office hours is available for participants that need additional time to ask questions. Trainers will offer additional Q&A time before or after their training session for participants to deepen their learning and to gain insight and clarification. Work study groups will be made available for participants who need additional supports to complete their job-embedded learning activities. An additional session would be offered to discuss and share those ideas. Transition to college credit support is available for participants who need additional support when transitioning from completing PACE to preparing to receive college credit to continue their professional growth. More will come on that very shortly. Another available layer of support may be found with your employer. DCYF is developing resources for employers on how they can help support an employee that may be going through PACE. More on this will become available in the coming weeks. As you have seen, there will be many trainings that are part of the PACE pathway. So how do you track all of your training completions? Well, good news is you have a couple of different options. These trainings are offered by specific trainers that have access to our DCYF training templates. Once the module has been completed, which consists of 2 to 3 sessions, the trainer will complete the training roster. As long as your trainer has your STARS ID number, they will be able to record your completion. These trainings will be found under your annual in-service training section of your Merit Professional Record. As a guide, you can also use the PACE completion checklist to track your training completion. This will be available on the DCYF website under the resources sections of the PACE webpage. If you're following along with us visually, we have a screen capture on the screen that indicates that resource box that this document will be available. Once you have completed all the portions of PACE, including Childcare Basics, Equal, and PACE Part 1, and Part 2, an indicator in Merit will record that you have met your licensing education requirement through PACE for those needing the initial certificate. In the meantime, you should have selected that you are choosing PACE as your pathway. This will make your job role education section yellow until you have completed PACE in full. Then that is when it would trigger to green. So what is the future of PACE? Hopefully you now know that PACE can be used to meet the licensing education requirement for the early learning roles of assistant teacher, lead teacher, and family home licensee. DCYF is working on expanding delivery in 2022 and beyond. And DCYF is working with the state board on an option to use PACE to receive college credit for those wanting to continue their professional learning at a higher education institution. More will come on this option in 2022. There are many resources available to learn about licensing staff qualifications. New to the DCYF website is a page dedicated to PACE. Use this page to learn more about PACE and keep updated on this work. Resources include a history of PACE, status updates on our development work, a link to House Bill 2556, and in the resources box, you'll find the latest information about PACE. Another great resource is our newsletters and webinars webpage. This is also the webpage that you will find our previously sent newsletters and our recorded webinars, including links to register for any upcoming webinars hosted by our professional development team. If you haven't already subscribed to our professional development newsletter or our Growing the Workforce newsletter, you can do this in two ways. You can email Marlene directly, or you can use the sign up option that is directly on our website. If there is a topic you would like to see covered in one of our monthly webinars, please send Marlene an email and let us know. Upcoming in 2022, we have some exciting topic areas that we are looking forward to sharing with you all. In January, we'll cover community engagement updates from our professional development team, including an update to our webpage and sharing ideas and ways to get engaged in our work. February, we'll cover the staff qualifications for outdoor nature-based programs and provide an update about other areas of that work. We hope you'll be joining us in the new year. If you have any questions, as this is, again, a recording and not being offered live, here is our contact information. Again, I am Diana Stokes, the Staff Qualifications Coordinators. If you have staff qualification questions, please email me or send an email to our Merit Navigation Center at merit@dcyf.wa.gov. And if you have any questions about community engagement, communications, or need help getting access to the newsletter, please reach out to Marlene. We are always happy to help. And thank you for joining. If you have any questions, please follow up, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.